live the way you want to live. If there's something that you want to do out there, go after it. It sounds super cliche, but we truly do only have one life. Make goals, write it down, pray on it, and put the work in. And I promise you, you will accomplish it. It may take time. It may take a year, it may take 10 years, but if you keep pushing, like you will get there. And I just wish more people believed enough in themselves to realize like it's a truth.
This is the Fit Investor Podcast, where we talk about how to live a more holistic life of being fit, not only financially, but physically and faithfully. We'll be joined by experts in all these areas to share their experiences and actionable and practical tips so that you can be a fit investor too. So now let's join our hosts, Cale Delaney and Brenna Carls.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural 2024 episode of the Fit Investor. So I'm your host, Cale Delaney, here with Brenna. I'm hosting family for the holidays, Carls.
Love hosting.
But our special guest today is Justin Mosley. And Justin is a U.S. Navy veteran with an extensive background in economics, finance, and real estate. And through this diverse experience, traveling over 40 countries, he developed a unique and refined perspective on the real estate market. He's originally from Baltimore, Maryland. However, he discovered a passion for South Florida after being honorably discharged from the U.S. Navy. And while serving as a machinist in the reactor department of a nuclear carrier, which is pretty cool, and spending 2 years in Japan, that contributed to his global outlook and understanding of various markets. Post-Navy, he set a sight on furthering his education. He went to FAU for a business economics degree, and then he actually spent a couple years in London for his master's in economics and finance. And with this, that inspired Justin to establish Loughborough Capital, which is his firm committed to guiding military veterans and sophisticated investors towards financial independence via real estate investments, with a niche focus on short-term rental market. He focuses on STR syndication, development, real estate funds, and all specifically tailored around short-term rentals. Additionally, Justin and his wife, Leanne, launched strmillionaires.com, which is an educational platform providing comprehensive courses, strategic and high-performance coaching for those serious about creating financial freedom through short-term rental properties. And better yet, Justin is uber fit and has a great faith story. So looking forward to diving into all that. So welcome to the Fit Investor, Justin.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And that bio is way too corporate for me. I'm in real estate to get the heck away from that stuff. So I might need to go back and retailer, but it's all good.
No worries. No worries. Just for our audience sake, we were chatting about this offline as well, but Justin and I connected through Facebook because we live relatively locally to each other down here in South Florida. And Justin's doing a lot on social media with his brand and his businesses and everything. And so that's how we connected, had a good conversation, found out he was a great Christian as well. And so thought it would be the perfect opportunity to get Justin on the Fit Investor and tell his story. With that, why don't you take us back a little bit, Justin, give us a little bit of your background and take us through your faith journey to where you are now. And then we'll dive into the other stuff after that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you said a good Christian. I don't know about good Christian, but I'm definitely a Christian. So I'll stand on that. But yeah, like my background, like you said in my bio from Baltimore, was itching to get out of there for a variety of reasons. It's a pretty rough city in general. And, my history is not too different from a lot of people that grow up in, the circumstances I did. No dad. Mom ended up going to prison when I was in high school. So my brother and I were sitting living with our grandparents. And ultimately what ended up happening is we had free reign to do whatever we wanted to do. Which, sounds amazing. But, when you talk about setting yourself up on the right track and can present some challenges. I think I recognized that young, I needed much more structure, and it led me to the military. Yeah, I left when I was 18 to the Navy and traveled around quite a bit, which was incredible. But I realized after that, I wanted to get focused and build a great life. And that then led me to corporate, which then led to realizing I don't want to do that. I need to find another way. Which ultimately led into real estate. So that's where I'm at there. And now I have a wife and 4 beautiful kids. And I think we spoke about this before. Like I wasn't terribly religious growing up. It was always a realm, but it's one of those things that I think through maturity and going through certain circumstances and things. And really for me, it was having children that really put my focus back on kind of faith and what that means to try to be a good Christian and raise your kids the right way to set them up with the right morals and principles to be successful in life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm with you that I think having kids, well, it changes a lot of things in your life. Absolutely. But I think for me, I was a Christian prior to having kids, but I think having kids made me understand more, I think, of what it means to love as a father and how God loves us as a father. And just seeing my youngest one, who's 4 years old now, growing up, I just see a lot of parallels that I can draw from raising him to scripture and just simple things like, especially when they're young. And I'm sure you can relate to this, that when they're young, they're exploring, experimenting, even the simple thing of relatively simple thing of trying to learn to walk. They're going to fall down multiple times. And if you're constantly there babying them and just doing everything for them, they don't advance. And so the big thing for me in realizing was you have to let the kids fall every now and then, right? You have to let them pick themselves up in order for them to grow and advance. And that was a revelation for me in seeing how, at least I see how God works in our lives, right? Is that he's not going to always pick us back up, right? Because if he does, that may hinder us really. And so sometimes we have to go through those trials and tribulations to grow and to advance. So that was just one of the biggest revelations for me when I had kids and seeing that necessity of kind of, not to call it tough love, but the necessity for people to fall and pick themselves back up and how that translates and parallels with God and how he works as a father for us as well. Take us into a little bit more detail as to when did you first start looking for Christ, or did he come and pull you towards him, or how did that develop?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, it was definitely later in life. And I think everyone has their own journey, right? I've achieved some level of success by societal standards and stuff. And you get to a point where you're married. I have a great relationship with my wife. My kids are all great. So I have four, right? So 14, 10, 5, and Rennie is 18 months now, 19 months. When they're like, I don't know why we do this mom thing. It's so ridiculous. So he'll be too soon. But I think is what actually drew me to Christianity or just religion in general, where I've stayed away, is that I always try to intellectualize it, right? And for so many years, the dots didn't make sense to me. And it was really hard for me to go all in. And I'm the type of person, when I believe something, like I do it, passionately, and I'm pretty resolute, right? But if I don't, it's really hard for me to get that buy-in. But I think just being around a lot of people that have deep faith, and I've always been open to the conversation, right? Open to the idea of it. I think it's always been something beautiful to me, the whole idea of having someone that truly does love you unconditionally, watches over you, things of those kind of things. Because I think my upbringing really taught me that no one's going to save you and you have to do it for yourself. So I think it's very easy to just get into that mentality, whether you end up having with a great life or a bad life. Like, I take that responsibility on myself, right? So there is a submission process you have to go through, I think, that can be challenging for some people. But I think the crux of it was I got to a point in my life where I really started looking for more, in that life can't just be about trying to be more successful, make more money. There's got to be something else there. And I think the biggest thing for me was the fact that no matter what culture, what part of the world you live in, there's something clearly in us that makes us yearn for something, or at least almost know intuitively that there's something else there. And almost that was probably just the proof I needed to really lean in and start exploring and developing that relationship with God.
And
Does that make sense? And you can
yeah,
ask questions to dive deeper. I'm not always the greatest at articulating and stuff, but I'm
Baltimore. And then you were in school when you said, were you in high school or middle school when your mom went to jail?
I was in high school. Yeah. I was in high school. So
How did that affect you any, like by when you were going to school, like your grades, or did it affect did you see yourself rebelling at all? Or did it affect, since you were older, it really didn't affect you as much?
yeah. So I've told myself it didn't affect me. I do know deep down, like it truly affected me as a person. I always kind of had a bit of a tumultuous relationship with my mom, just in general. I think we just always bumped heads. And then with that happening, like most kids, you almost feel kind of like abandoned. And then I had aunts and uncles that didn't really want to take us in, and my brother and I, because we were just And I never felt any kind of way towards them because like we were not the best kids. We were pretty angry. I think I was always angry not having a dad around and stuff like that. When we went to my grandparents' house, like luckily for me, I always felt like I wanted more out of my life. I didn't really go to school, but not really pay attention. But I did enough to make sure that like I graduated. I barely graduated, but I graduated. But so to answer your question, I think it definitely had a profound impact on me in how I see the world and the principles that ultimately, in a lot of ways, helped me be successful because I had to lean on the idea that like it is your responsibility. You have to take your life in your own hands. No one is going to give you anything. And ultimately, I still believe that largely. And like I'm very much anti the victimhood mentality because, and I even say this to people all the time because people will look at my story and think like I had some horrific childhood. Like I did. I think it was pretty good, especially the level of poverty and stuff that happened in my city. Like I always had a lot of gratitude because like I saw people that had way worse situations, circumstances than I grew up in, right? Like I wasn't like, didn't have a house over my head or wasn't able to feed myself. And then really going overseas, especially in the military, going to places like Manila in the Philippines, or when I was out, I traveled a bunch with my wife, like in South Africa and stuff like that. Some of the worst, quote unquote, circumstances in America is nothing compared to what's going on in a lot of the world. But yeah, I think I was just ranting there. But yeah, ultimately it very much had an impact. But in a lot of ways, it was a good impact. I see a lot of that as a blessing for sure.
And then after you graduated high school, did you go straight into the Navy?
Yeah, straight into the Navy right after that.
And then when you went in, what did you do in the Navy?
So I was a nuclear machinist mate. So you know how like those big aircraft carriers, I worked in the reactor department. So it sounds a lot sexier than it actually was.
I was going to say, it sounds like back to
I was wondering what that glow is.
Yeah.
I want to point out, hold on, while we're talking about glow or looks or whatever, maybe I'm just off my rocker, but the people, when y'all are watching this, if you're listening, go on YouTube and watch this part because look at Kale and then look at Justin. I feel like y'all have the same exact facial structure. Your eyebrows are the same. Your nose is the same. Your mouth, like it sounds creepy that I've been looking at you guys like that and seeing like your structure. It looks, Kale, if you were bald and didn't have a beard, I feel like people would be like, whoa, the facial structure is uncanny.
It's a good looking man. That's all it is, Kale.
Yeah, it's great facial expression. But I'm like, it's weird because I was like, they look alike facial structure. And then I saw the eyebrows and like the eyes are the same. The eyebrows, the mouths are a little bit different, but they're the same. Okay. Anyway. Concentrating on what
I did not anticipate that at all.
Yeah, but I'm concentrating on what we're talking about, but at the same time, I'm like creepily staring at y'all while y'all are talking, thinking that y'all look a lot alike. Anywho, if y'all watch this, comment on it and see if I'm like absolutely loony or if y'all think the same thing.
Please.
Brothers from another mother. Look at that.
There it is, man.
Gosh. Thank you, Brenna.
Yeah, it's great facial structure. If I was a guy, I'd probably do the bald look too. I feel like I'd pull that off.
Yeah, it's good. It's so easy. You don't have to go to a barbershop or anything. Just wake up, shave, and hit the road. It's the best.
I think if I was a guy, I'd want to like look as much like The Rock as possible. I don't know. I really like The Rock.
That's my guy. But although it's funny now, and I actually leverage this, we talk about social media. So like I David Goggins a whole lot. I don't actually think I look like him, but I'm okay with being compared to him. So I love what he's on.
Just, I guess before we get off that tangent, funny enough, I was actually thinking about if I ever shaved my head this morning. And I just think it can go one of two ways for guys. Like it can go or really bad. For me, for a white guy, I can hope that it would go for like a Bruce Willis effect. But
this was the other one, Jason Statham. And
that's true. That's true.
There's also Bill Burr, even though he's not in shape. But you've got like that facial structure. As long as your head's not misshapen, if you shave your head and it like looks like a cone head, like that sucks for you. And then you have to wait for your hair to grow back. But I think as long as you're muscular, which you are, you can pull it off. But if you're like, you're really skinny, it looks a little odd.
I never thought about
my personal opinion.
The muscular thing probably does play a huge role in it. That's an interesting one. Never even thought about that.
Because baldness, we're getting off topic. I said to myself, I wasn't.
We're here now. Go ahead. Get it off. We're here now.
But if you look at a skinny, bald guy, you think, oh, his hormones are out of whack. He's lost his hair. And if you think that's what I don't know, that's what I'm pretty sure that's what women think if they see something like that. And then if you see a muscular guy with ball, oh, he's just got his stuff together. He's just doesn't even have time to mess with his hair because he's always in the gym drinking his BCAs. And that's like the thought process. So you just can't, if you guys are skinny, just don't shave your head and feel your head to see if it's misshapen before you shave.
Shaken first.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. I heard a long time ago, which I don't know if it's true or not. It probably isn't, but I'm rolling with it. Is that for guys that start going bald? Because I started going bald probably in my late 20s. I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just cut my hair off. I don't care about stuff like that. But it was that they have more testosterone than the average man. I don't know if that's true or not. That's probably garbage, but I
I thought it was less testosterone.
I think that's probably not true. It just sounds good, but
sounds good. Though. Sounds good. I'm gonna keep that going. I'm gonna put that out there. Don't worry about it.
I'm just full of tests. So
yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right.
Sorry, I said I wouldn't do this in 2024, but it's just who I am. So it's going to get off tangent on every episode. Sorry.
We'll climb out of that rabbit hole now. But so anyway, getting back into what we were talking about there. Actually, I wanted to piggyback off of what Brenna had said or started going down in regards to the situation growing up affect your life with your mother. But on the other side too, I know you mentioned there was perhaps some anger as a result of it, but when not having a father figure in your life, did that affect your outlook on religion or specifically Christianity? Because that's one thing that I hear a lot. And even I'm part of the teaching in the youth group for high school students at church. And right before Christmas, we were talking about Joseph, right? And that you don't hear a lot about Joseph in the Bible, but whatever. It's just talking about some things with that. And I asked the group, what are some ways that you can think of that your father loves you? And it was like silent, like nobody answered. And I was like, wow, this is a bit sad, number one, but it just brought it to the forefront again of there's so many people who don't have a father figure or have perhaps not a great father figure. And that really affects their outlook on specifically with Christianity and how they view God. And so I just wanted to dig into that a little bit, see if you had ever thought about that or.
That's a super deep question. And I try to think deeply about like why I do the things that I do, but that's actually never came up. I think my situation was slightly different in that there definitely was anger there for a lot of, reasons, but it really was, it just didn't make sense to me. And I think one of the challenging parts, I don't know what is it, not sector, but a denomination you grew up in, but I know within kind of Southern Baptist or Baptist, I remember being young and asking questions and was always just told because God did it, or that was the answer, right? And that frustrated the heck out of me because it's like, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, even to the point where, my daughter, she's 14, she was going to a Christian school, which the education was great, but I remember them teaching that why did the tides come in and out? And it was like, because it's God. And it's like that kind of stuff, like really, it pushed me away from religion because it was like, we're not coming at it from, I don't want to say illogical, but in a lot of ways that just didn't make sense. So I think that probably drove division from religion more than probably anything else. But to answer that question, I think that's really deep because one of the things that especially I told you I went to this boot camp called, it's John Eldridge's, but they have like their own thing. Yeah. Band of Brothers. And which is cool because John Eldridge, I think like a lot of his books are incredible. And he looks at a lot of that stuff in very different, lens than I've ever looked at it before. And the love thing I think is incredibly powerful. And I try to do that with my kids. And I think because of my upbringing, I'm incredibly affectionate with my kids and try to always make sure that they know that I love them unconditionally. But I think that's probably something that really hurts a lot of people, just children in general, because that fatherly love is so powerful. And when you don't receive it, it can manifest in a lot of different ways, from rebellion to being anti-religion or a host of other things. But
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I was just curious, just because it is such a common thing, unfortunately, in today's society.
Yeah, because it's hard to think about it, though. If you don't feel love from your father, like how can you really think, especially as a child, that like God loves you? That's such an easy leap to make or a conclusion to come to. It's like, why would I think that? It's like my own, because I know I've struggled with that as a kid. It's like not having a relationship with your mom and dad detach me from a lot of things because I'm like, how can you care about me if the people that actually are birthed you, right? You
Yeah.
feel that way. Whether that's true or not, that's the story that can be in your head.
No.
I do too that you pointed out that because it's still like this. And that's why I posted in the group a couple months ago, hey, I'd like to dive into the Bible verse and the history behind it so I can understand why something is going on in that time frame or what have you in the Bible. And growing up, and it still is because I'm like, why do we do this? Because Jesus or God said so. Because that's what God did. And it's okay, cool. You can explain that any way, but the tide coming in and out. I think this is highly controversial, so take it for what it is. But I think you can put science and God together because it's not like he can't create the science that occurs to make the waves go in and out and the moon function and all that stuff. And I think people are like, no, you have to either believe in science and that's the only way, or you have to believe that God just does it with his own hand. And I'm like, no, what if God created this pull, gravitational pull and the moon cycle and everything to do this? Like, why can't it be both? And I'm just saying that because of the example you gave with the waves and stuff, but I feel like it's largely still, and I think that's why the younger population doesn't come to it because what are we noticing now? Like we spoke about before we started recording, everything's on social media and no, I don't care what you and your grandmother did yesterday or what you ate. But it's the younger generations, I want to know why. Like they go a little further. It's not like they just go to their 9-to-5 job. They're looking for other avenues to make more money. How does this work? Why are you doing this? And they ask more questions. And so with this newer generation that's coming up, like you've got to explain things or reasoning behind it or the history behind it. So they will actually move forward with it because they market so much distrust these days. I see TikTok videos. Okay, if you're a younger person watching this, I'm not making fun of you, being mean. But I promise you that when you go into a hotel room, the plug outlet is not a video that's trying to watch you in your hotel room. I don't know if y'all have seen that. All these kids on TikTok, my nephew, the reason why I know is because he's like, do you know that they hide cameras in that? I'm like, they don't want to see you. Nobody wants to see you. I'm like, no offense, but we're not that important and nobody cares. And you'll see TikTok videos, they'll put like a Band-Aid over the plug outlet or whatever. And I'm like, that's just the way the new generation is thinking. They think there's always something behind something. And going into religion, they want to see proof or why something's going on or why they should believe it. And I'm wondering what we'll see in the next 10 years with religion. Have you guys started to see that there is more explanation out there? Or
to go back to what you were originally saying, I do think it definitely can be both. But what I would have struggled with as a child that I've very much changed that opinion on is that what's helped me a whole lot is that don't think about it from an intellectual standpoint. Like you need to believe in faith from your heart. And that was the only kind of bridge that really helped me because even now, as I've started going through the Bible and actually trying to read it, because I had all these kind of opinions without ever actually reading the text, which for me, it's like, shame on you. If you don't actually know what the heck you're talking about, then like you need to at least dive in first. But so I think a big adjustment for me is stop trying to think about it from a rational standpoint, like from your heart and stuff. And that helped me tremendously. But I think you're 100% right. It can be both. And to your social media stuff, like I'm on it, but I don't consume it at all. Like I just post and do it that way because you can go down some deep rabbit holes on those things.
people don't get my humor, and I was going to post because I was saying my husband and I did that 5K yesterday because he signed us up. We did that, and I wanted to post a picture of just doing like a lunge and being like, nothing screams that I'm better than you than posting that I just did a 5K on New Year's Day. But people that know me would get my humor and know that I was joking, but then I was like, I don't know if people would know that I'm joking because
I'm the same way. I think stuff was like so funny in my mind, and then I tell my wife, and she's now knowing it's a bit.
I'm
with
people
you.
like, now that's sadistic. So
It's all good. As long as you like it, it's all good.
Yeah, but no, that's a good point. Like the logistics, I'm both. I like to know the history. The biggest one about, for example, I've said this before, Mary going to the well at the different times, and she wasn't supposed to with the women. The women would go at a different time and she wasn't supposed to go at a certain time because that's when the men went to the well. Well, she went. And the reason why she went back in the day is because she didn't want the women to make fun of her because of her sinful ways and stuff. And ultimately, that's the same time that she met Jesus at the well. But it's neat to see the history behind it back in the day of why certain things happened in the Bible. But to your point, if you look at Revelation, I'm sure there's not going to be, maybe it is literal, but I don't think there's going to be a beast with 6 heads and a woman sitting on the saddle of one of them coming out of the ocean anytime soon for the end of the world. I think a lot of it is metaphor, and you have to, it's give and take. Yes, there are examples, literal examples of the Bible where we can show proof, but then there's also metaphoric reasoning in the Bible that you just have to understand that it is faith-based. If that kind of makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in that, and I won't go too far down it, but Revelation and I mean, each book was written in a certain style, right? We can't take the more literal historical writing style of, for example, Luke, and apply that to Revelations, right? Because they're different writing styles and there's different intents for those books, right? The book of Revelation is a prophetic book showing us what's to come in the future. And it is very metaphorical, but it is, in my opinion, very literal as well. And I think where it trips people up a lot is that, so Revelations was a revelation given to John, basically showing him thousands of years in the future what's going to happen. And he's trying with his first century mind to understand what he's seeing and write down what he's seeing, right? So and that's why if you read through Revelation, all these descriptions of things that are happening, he's saying it looked like, or it looks something like this or this, because he's seeing things that didn't exist at his time, and he's trying to write them down with what he can relate it to. And so when you look at it with that lens, it starts to make a lot more sense as to, oh, this could actually be this that we understand and we know what it is today. But 2,000 years ago, this guy had no clue what he was looking at. He's trying the best he can to describe what he's seeing. Like going back to my 4-year-old, like he doesn't have a full vocabulary. So when he sees something and he's trying to explain it, he'll relate it to words or things that he knows. And so he might describe, I'm trying to think of an example. Can't
No,
remember.
it's like the iPhone thing, right? If you were to drop an iPhone back in the 1800s and somebody didn't explain it, like they would explain it very differently than somebody would now. 100%.
Right. Yeah. And so there's some good books on it. Actually, on that topic, because I was just finished reading a book about that, looking at Revelations from a literal standpoint and then applying that logic of, okay, this is a guy, first century guy trying to explain things thousands of years in the future, advanced technology, that type of thing. And actually, it's a very helpful book. I forget the name, but it's written by Hal Lindsey. So it's a really good book, though, on Revelation. It goes through the whole book and really relates it to modern day things that help make a lot of sense to it. But another great book that I'm rereading again right now, which your daughter might like if she's really into understanding the why and the mechanics of things behind scripture, is called The Creation Answers book. And it basically goes through the book of Genesis and the creation of the earth and life and all that stuff, and gives modern scientific background and justification and rationale behind creation of the earth, the moon, sun. I think it might even touch on tides, plate tectonics, like all these things. It really helps give a good background and give that logical and intellectual justification to a lot of these things. So that's a good book. Again, Creation Answers book really helps with, I think you need to be probably at least a teenager to start reading it, because it does get very technical, but it explains a lot of things. And I'm a believer in the young earth theory. I don't know if you call it theory, but the earth is only 6,000 years old based on the scriptural timeline. And this book gives a lot of really good evidence and background and things for that as well. Just some things, there's plenty of resources out there, especially now today, for understanding and mating science and religion, because I think that's one of the devil's big lies, is trying to say that it is one or the other, right? That they're mutually exclusive. And that's been one of the big lies that's really pushed away from religion for a long time. And just a funny little thing to wrap that up is, you guys have probably seen the movie Nacho Libre with Jack Black. You guys seen that?
Yeah, I've seen clips of it. Yeah, for sure.
But the main character, Jack Black, and then his wrestling partner that he meets, His wrestling partner he's always saying, I don't believe in God. I believe in science. That's what he always says. And he's a Catholic. That's ridiculous. And whatever. You have to see the movie to make it funny. I didn't explain it very well, but it just reminded me of that. Cause that's like his constant thing is, I don't believe in God. I believe in science, but it's that thing. They're not mutually exclusive. They actually go together very well. And a lot of the big scientific discoveries that have actually come throughout our history have come from Christians, right? Because they're trying to understand the Bible. So yeah, there's a lot of history and a lot of interesting stuff to really dig into if you look into it.
Yeah,
Now
no,
we can use Nacho Libre as a form of transfer. Let's get back out of the weeds everywhere. That's funny.
We have. All right. So we will get out of the weeds.
Hey guys, it's Brenna Carl, CEO and co-founder of The Mortgage Shop. When I'm not spending my time searching for the best pizza in town, working out, well, because of pizza, or fighting sharks as Kale likes to say, I spend my time educating clients on the best investment products that will help them build generational wealth and making sure their loan process is as smooth as warm butter on a piece of toast. Call us today to get started with your investment journey at 800-816-7982 or, to talk more about pizza. Talk to you soon.
So anyway, let's jump into your faith and stuff, or your fitness, because I think both the faith and the fitness really factor into where you've come and the success that you've made in your business. I think they both lead into that a lot. Where did your fitness journey start and come from? Because if I recall correctly, you weren't always into fitness, right? And
I guess it just depends on so like growing up, yeah, I wasn't big into lifting weights or anything like that, but I was always very active as a kid, playing basketball, football, outside and stuff. Like didn't really get into organized sports just because I just wasn't ever really passionate about it. No one was like driving me into it and stuff. So I preferred to play basketball and just do my own thing. But once I got into the military, that's when I really dug in on fitness. And I think like a lot of guys, it starts off of just superficial, just want to look good, get huge. That was the motto back then and stuff. And as I've grown older, I've realized like how many kind of valuable lessons I've learned through fitness. And that's the thing for me. I think in military and then probably fitness more than anything else, when I think about discipline, consistency, I learned a great deal about that. And especially it's helped me become a much better kind of entrepreneur, because I don't care who you are. You can't just go and hit the gym for a week, 2 weeks, even a month, and then get to where you want to go. And I think it's like the perfect analogy of if you want to be successful over time, you have to have those daily habits. You have to be consistent. And that is the way. And it's like, I drive that in all my businesses. And that's helped me tremendously. I've learned more from that than I probably have in all of the undergrad and grad school.
yeah. Okay. So you started in the Navy, and of course, I'm sure the Navy instilled a bunch of discipline and everything and structure in your mentality as well. Nowadays, what's your fitness routine look like?
Yeah. So I'm a 4:30 guy every day, Sunday through Saturday. Doesn't matter. Get up. I work out at 5. It's around 6:37, and a combination like CrossFit stuff, biking, running. It's funny because now it's much more about like health, being mental focus, doing something hard every day to make the rest of the day easy, and really like longevity. My big why I work out, aside from like discipline stuff, I'm very active with my kids, and I want to be one of those grandfathers that can roll around with my grandkids. And that for me is huge. It always makes me slightly sad when I go out and I see people with their grandparents and they can't pick them up or all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that kind of guy. I want to be somebody that's super active. And I say that, heck, there are loads of dads out there that aren't really that active with their kids. That's my driving force behind it. And want to have enough energy to be able to like excel and at a high level in my business, and then be able to come home and still have energy for my kids, my family, the whole nine.
Okay. So you mix it up a bit then. Take us through a week. What's your fitness look like? What's your routine?
I am not a structured person. It's funny. I am incredibly structured, but I literally figure out what I'm going to do probably 5 minutes before I work out. Like I've been doing it for so long. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you're not the same, but like I started working out like seriously when I was probably let's say 20 years old. I'm 38. So it's been almost 20 years. But I go till a lifetime, which is really nice. And which is weird because I was very much a dusty, grimy CrossFit gym style guy. And my wife was like, when they built it in Gardens, let's go check it out. I'm like, all right, I'll take a look. And I'm like, oh, wow, this place is incredible. I'm like, I think I've worked hard enough, but I deserve something like this. But it's great. Like it has like running classes, like Orange Theory style. They have this thing called like Alpha, which is like CrossFit. So they do like barbell work and stuff. So when I do go there Monday through Friday, I'll jump in a class, like a CrossFit style class for an hour, and then I'll go work out with squatting or maybe more bro lifting. And then on the weekends, I work out in my garage, and I could have a gym in my garage, and I'll go run a couple miles, maybe 3-5 miles on the weekend.
Gotcha.
On
Gotcha.
top
I'm
of
7 days a week though. I don't like to not get something in. I don't feel right.
do you run on top of lifting?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I don't like running, but it makes me feel great. It's different from bench pressing or squatting is probably the closest thing to it. You always feel great after you finish squatting and stuff. But yeah, I think the older you get, like your heart health is way more important, and just being able to just run some miles and just get it in. And it sucks every single time, but you just do it.
So that's interesting. And that's for me, that's one of the things, frankly, I struggle with when it comes to the working out and the fitness is that I'm so rigid and locked into my weightlifting routines that it's hard for me to, I've been doing it for so long. It's hard for me to break out of that and do other things like CrossFit or these classes or that type of thing. Because I wouldn't mind doing some of those other things, but I don't know. It's a mental block for me right now is that I don't feel the same when I do those type of classes or things than that
Really?
when I do weight.
Are you pushing yourself hard enough? And I
No,
remember
he's
this
He's
stuff.
folding it in is what he's trying to
No,
say.
because people say all the time about all kinds of workout. Like I think, and I was a guy who did that. Like I remember when I was with my wife and these little ladies tried to get me to do a Zumba class. And I was like, oh, that's garbage. And I did it and it kicked my butt. And it's, if you try hard enough in anything, like you can get a good workout in. But I can respect the idea of if, you love, I don't know what kind of lifting you do, but maybe it's like Olympic style lifting. Yeah, it's definitely going to be different than CrossFit. But if you're working hard, like you'll get a great workout doing almost anything.
I jog on the days I don't, or some days I do either 2 to 3 days a week jogging. The days that I'm not lifting just to keep my VO2 max up. And what I noticed is I was like, I'm jogging at first. I jogged at first to stop being so out of breath on my heavy lifts because I do powerlifting. But it's like it's weird. It's totally different because after I do a heavy squat, I'm like breathing heavy and I'm like, wow, my heart rate's gotta be like 170. I look down, it's like 150 and I'm like, what the heck? And then when I'm jogging, I'm like in a rhythm of breathing and I look down and it's like at 160 or 165 or something, my heart rate, but I don't feel as breathed or whatever that word is when I'm doing the heavy lifting. So it's totally different. So Kale, I know you're saying I don't feel like I'm doing as much, but I think if you incorporate something different, your body works differently. And also your mind has to think about things differently. So lifting weights for me is totally different than running. After I run, I feel like the endorphins kick in. I'm like, oh yeah. But then after I lift, I feel like, oh, I'm going to be sore later. But then I feel stronger. It's hard to explain, but your body, you need different, just like when you walk, you use different muscles than when you run. Or you see some people doing that, walking backwards on the treadmill to keep their knee strength up. It's just different muscles. So you should try to incorporate it. You should also do one of those jogging classes, and I want you to video it because I think that'd be funny if you don't jog much.
Yeah. But I probably, to be honest with you, I think I look at life and a lot of things just differently in a lot of ways. And it's probably fitness as well. Do I enjoy fitness? Yeah, to a certain degree, but I like doing things that are just challenging. Like that pushes me and makes me feel better. It makes me a better person. And that's how I look at it. Because again, like I run probably at least 5 days a week, actually almost every day. If you're talking 3 miles and up, like I do something and it sucks every time, but once you're done, you feel good. And it's almost like a confidence thing, right? Like the more you do something, the more you do hard things. And that's how I look at fitness more than it just, because otherwise I'd probably just go like bench press every day. That wouldn't really do anything for me, but stroke my ego.
Yeah. The other thing is, I know you had mentioned that you do the fasting as well. And
Fasting.
1 and 5 p.m. That's your eating window.
Yeah, 1 and 5. I'm not gonna lie. Over the holidays, I've pushed it a little bit. I've gone to 2 to 6 or 7, just so I'm not a complete weirdo when you have to go out to eat. Because like for whatever reason, people don't like to eat dinner like 5 o'clock. They want to go and eat at 7, 8, 9. but I guess I'm the weirdo and I appreciate that. That's fine. But yeah,
I'm all for the early bird specials, man.
I was just about to say that. I'm like, you get deals, and also you have time to rejuvenate when you get home and digest instead of feeling like a miserable cow and then just
exactly,
going,
exactly. And I think it's the greatest thing. Like I know everybody's biology is different, but like when I started doing intermittent fasting, it like my sleep is better. I feel stronger. I can run further. It's weird. I did the bodybuilding, like eating every 2 hours for just years and years. And I hated being like a slave to eating, like to where now I feel better. I lost weight. Yeah. It's great for me.
Yeah. See, that's after we had met up and chatted about that, I was like, I'm going to try that. It's like I do the fast until noon on the weekends, Monday through Friday. I don't. And so I was like, I'm going to try that and do the start at 12 or 1 and only go till 5. It's not my struggle. It wasn't hard for me to wait until 12 or 1. Like that's easy. But I like when I had that first meal, I wouldn't be hungry again until 5 or 6. And then if I ate something then, that was the last thing I'd eat. It's I felt like I couldn't eat enough. Like that I felt like I was just not getting enough. Right.
Yeah, I don't know,
like
but do you
that.
think it's just because of how you've always eaten and stuff, or yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Bill also says he likes to eat like plain chicken and dry rice and all the non-fun things, which you might be.
a bodybuilder style. No, I honestly though, like I eat food to live. I tell people that, and they're like, "Oh, you're a weirdo," but I don't care about that stuff, man. Like
I can always look at somebody and tell if they're a dry chicken and rice person or somebody that has to like their food like me.
But I'll tell you this: if you can work in intermittent fasting, one of the things I do love about it, it's like it's a mental toughness thing. Like I haven't eaten yet, and it's like, yeah, I'm hungry, but I like a little bit of a little edge when I'm working and stuff like that. But when you do it for long enough, like your appetite does decrease, and you really can eat what you want. Like people think that I'm some like strict eater, like I'm not. Like I eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and cheeses a lot of times for my first meal and stuff. Like I like it. It's all good. It's easy. It's quick. But when you're not overeating, like you can eat what you want largely and stuff. So
maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'll try it again because my first meal, whether it's with the fasting or not fasting, is, I like a big like meal replacement protein shake, basically. That thing fills me up for hours. So maybe I should try and just start with a lighter meal or something for the first meal.
yeah, it goes, man. You never know. I might transform you into a intermittent fasting guy.
We will find out. We talking about the discipline and the consistency, of course, how the fitness really plays into that. And so now take us into the business. Again, you're in the short-term rentals, you're doing the coaching, you get the syndications and the funds. So why don't you just take us through briefly your journey into getting into the STR world and the various businesses that you started now with the coaching and everything, and talk about how those disciplines and consistencies and things like that have really helped you develop.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually first started off in real estate on the commercial side. So I actually went the exact opposite direction as most guys, where they start off on a single family and they move up. And it was for two reasons. For your listeners that are really into real estate, they probably understand. But for everyone else, multifamily is a great asset class, right? I think over the last 10 years, that has been the belle of the ball. Probably outside of like mobile home parks and stuff. They became really sexy. So we kind of got into that, but that's another story. And what I found with multifamily, it was great asset class. You can build a lot of wealth through it, but like it's a time play and there's not a lot of cash flow. So it's buy a good asset, reposition it 5 to 7 years. Hopefully you get this amazing windfall if the market's right. But what I found was that I really cared more about the cash flow. That was my focus and stuff. So I ended up in short-term rentals by just buying units. My first triplex actually in West Palm Beach, and was trying to do a hybrid of the two and put one unit as a short-term rental, and it just took off immediately from there. I spent the next 2 months just trying to get the other 2 tenants out of there so I could have all 3 units. And that's where I pivoted all the way into STRs and started buying condos and more quads and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny because like I'm such a huge proponent of consistency and patience to a degree. I'm probably actually not that patient, but what I will say is that I'm willing to put the work in and be consistent every single day to try to get there as fast as I can. And if it takes longer, but that's just my mentality and how I operate business. But what ultimately all this led to in a really long-winded way is that I wanted to scale this business. So I love short-term rentals. I got into it. It made sense. I was able to grow a portfolio for myself and for my family because I look at the kind of like legacy assets. And I was like, why not do this on a larger scale? So that's ultimately where Less Capital was born. And now we syndicate STR properties. We're in like the Southeast, like coastal Mississippi, Alabama, doing some development up in Charleston. And I even have just started our STR LMC Fund 2 that we're launching soon. So that's exciting. Yeah. And it's just, I love the asset class. Like, I think there's just so much opportunity in it. And that's what really made me fall in love with just STRs in general.
Yeah. Now, with the syndications and the funds with STRs, how do the returns from those compare to syndications in, for example, the multifamily world?
Yeah. Right. And so there's kind of, it all, let me back it. It all depends, right? The cash flow is significantly better than in multifamily, 100%. What the challenge in short-term rentals and what I'm actually trying to solve for now is one of the great benefits of multifamily is that it's effectively evaluated off of its net operating income, right? So then that how much the value of the property is then is a function of kind of the cap rate of that market. So you have a lot more control over, that asset and how much it's worth, which I love. I think STRs will move in that direction, especially as institutional capital starts moving in. I know I have institutional capital partners that have been on pause, but they were really looking to really invest in the short-term rental space. But the reality is there just aren't a whole lot of players out there with large enough portfolios for them even to sneeze at, right? They need to deploy 25, 50, $100 million. And there aren't a whole lot of players out there. And I want to be one of those players. So that's the whole reason for the fund. But what I found with going after now, and this is our strategy, we use somewhat of a hybrid. So we go after much larger properties now. So the last asset I bought, actually before we bought another one in Mississippi was in Cocoa Beach, a property that probably was 5,000 square foot, 5 bedrooms. We turned it into 9 bedrooms,
Wow.
game room in the garage, the whole experience play, right? Like it was on the water, brand new dock. And we bought it at a discount because interest rates are high. There's just less competition. And I tell people all the time, if you want to get into the space, like this is the time now to do it because interest rates will drop. And you want to be in position to make sure buy assets. If they cash flows, buy it now. You'll be able to refinance your debt later. You're locked in to a 30-year fixed debt. Really, it's just a matter of just learn how to play the game. And that's where my education and coaching business was born of, because I think there was just a lot of people I was coming into that really loved the idea, got excited about it, but just didn't have $50,000, $100,000 to invest in my deal, because generally you have to be an accredited investor. So I really want to create an avenue for people that want to get into the space to learn, like from a process standpoint. And that's where the SDR Millionaires was born.
Interesting. So what are some of the biggest maybe roadblocks or hurdles that your students or your clients need help getting over with the coaching specific to the STR space?
Yeah, it varies a little bit, but I think one of the biggest things is mindset. And that's what I've realized. And it's funny because back in my W-2 days, the idea of buying into a coaching program or getting a coach or a mentor, I'd put that, get out of here. I don't want that. But when you become an entrepreneur, you understand the value of like actually learning from somebody that's already done the thing that you want to do, that's either just slightly ahead of you or way ahead of you. And it just cuts that time down tremendously. And I learned that myself that's how I got into multifamily. I jumped into a major coaching program, paid like 20 grand, paid another 25 grand for another program. And the reality is even if I didn't go the multifamily route, like the networking, the mindset stuff, the people I encountered, even just principles, I leverage them to this day. So to answer your question before, what I find is they need to come in, and one of the things they struggle with is how this process works and getting over those kind of, I can't do this because of, my background or my financial position, because all of that's just garbage, right? It's just crap that we tell ourselves to try to give ourselves an excuse not to be uncomfortable. And I think that's why for my folks really resonate with me, because I am a no nonsense guy where I don't want to hear you can't do it, or it's let's figure out how to, right? You need to be my guy, bro. You got to figure it out. And because there's always a way. I guarantee you that.
Right. And with the coaching, do you focus on any specific strategy, such as arbitrage or co-hosting or ownership model, or do you go over all that?
Yeah, so we go over everything. It started all just purely ownership model because I just think like ownership like is true. And this is from somebody who goes out and raises capital for syndications. I'm still honest enough to say that the real benefit of real estate is ownership, right?
Right.
Like you talk about capturing all the appreciation, all of the depreciation to go against like your W-2 wages if you're an employer, even a business owner, the actual cash flow, like that is the best way to go. But now for people that have an amazing business or just want to diversify, come invest with me. Amazing, right? But for the overall majority, like your best option to actually building real wealth, becoming a millionaire, and I did that explicitly is because that's how I became a millionaire. It was from short-term rentals. And that's why I just believe in it so much. I think it's such a powerful tool because there are a lot of people out there, whether they're from poverty or even from relative affluence, and like there just isn't enough like education, financial literacy out there because I meet people all the time that just don't understand the value of buying assets, don't understand the value of cash flow, or just all the things that come along with actually living a life of freedom. And freedom doesn't mean that you need to make $1 billion. It means that if your expenses are $4,000 a month and you could bring in six, ideally $8,000, but even five, like you are free, right? Like you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to be worried about that next recession because I'm going to lose my job. I think these are things that like, or for whatever reason, just overlooked in society. And I think there's a lot of voices out there now that talk about it, but I think it's important to resonate with the person that is giving you that message sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's obviously, I love short-term rentals and real estate just as much as you. And because the beauty of it is just like you said, that anybody, really anybody can do it. Just no matter what your background is, no matter what your education is. And as long as you're willing to put in the hustle, really, no matter what your financial situation is.
That 100%, man, 100%. And I tell people all the time, I love multifamily. I think it's great. But if you want to go in and play in the multifamily space, take down 100, 200 unit apartment buildings, like you got to scrap and scrape. You got to go find somebody who's got a net worth, find somebody that can capital raise. Like you got to, and it's a team sport, which is cool in a lot of ways. But like short-term rentals, whether you want to do it as a team or you want to do it solo, like you can do it. It's the lowest barrier to entry, but also has like a massive like upside as well. And it's the coolest thing about it, right? If you can apply, you can get a loan or you can negotiate seller financing, like you can get into this space.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And big thing for me was that I wanted it to be, I wanted something that was going to have location independence as well. You can run or manage your short-term rental operations from anywhere in the world. I don't know. If you have a phone or a computer with a connection, you can literally
you can roll 100%. And you appreciate that. I think a lot of people too, this is a business and I never want to, give anyone the illusion that it's not, but the difference that when you actually have a process, it's like people don't realize like how much you can automate this business. And that's the thing, even to the point of when we're not necessarily talking about automation, but I'm a huge proponent of like virtual assistant. And you can find some phenomenal virtual systems in the Philippines, $4 an hour. They are more than happy to do a phenomenal job once you're trying to teach them how to do these tasks and stuff. And they can effectively oversee a lot of your business and stuff like, and that's the strategy we teach. But to go back to what you were saying, I believe in the ownership model, but I do appreciate that there are people that are a lot more risk averse than me. Like I'm a kind of guy, I just bought a house. I got under contract with my wife and we're going to build. And my wife had said to me the day before Christmas, let's go look at houses. And by the end of that week, we already had something ready to go, right? If we want something, we go out and get it. But I appreciate there are some people don't operate that way and are a lot more risk averse. So we provide options for co-hosting and arbitrage as a way to, if you want to get into this game, but you're not willing to buy immediately, or maybe you just don't have that capital, this is a way to get in, learn the business. And then when you do, definitely go out and buy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great strategy, great solutions. And with the coaching still, is it group settings? Is it one-on-one or how is it structured?
Yeah. So we have different programs. So it started off as the STR Millionaire Blueprint, right? And really that was born out of me wanting to create systems for myself. I was like, I want to focus in on buying more properties and not being focused in the business. After I had all my notes and everything, I literally went back and just step by step. If I was going to give this to somebody to help me grow my portfolio, like they need to know everything. And I mapped it all out. And my wife, being the marketing genius and a great entrepreneur she is, she has a coaching business. She's like, we need to actually get this out to people. And so that's what it was. So the blueprint truly is like the roadmap to getting into this space in every single way, shape, or form. But what ultimately ended up happening is I created the mastermind because of those struggles a lot of people have with the mental roadblocks and some of those things. So I provide more strategic coaching. It's in a group session, but I actually brought in a PhD psychologist who has a $10 million STR portfolio herself, because it was really important for me. I brought someone in that actually understood the business as well. Even if she's going to do the high performance coaching, like I still want you to understand STRs. Like that's important. And then we have one more tier that's like more kind of one-on-one coaching. I don't really push. It needs to be the absolute right fit for me. Our time is incredibly valuable. But there are people out there that say, hey, like I want to learn this business, but I don't want to sit through my courses, right? Like I want to partner with you. I want to do deals. And so I do provide the option for the right fit.
Okay. No, that's awesome. I'm sure our listeners are going to look into that. And just before we wrap it up here, I'm just curious, when you decided to go down this entrepreneurial journey, you were working corporate job, right? What was like your major why or your major reason that you wanted to escape or get out of that or get into this entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's probably a couple things. The biggest thing was my children. I really wanted to make sure they understood. I'm just such a huge believer in like people in society or just in general, we tend to tell our kids to do things that we aren't necessarily doing. And I realized at a very early age, man, like kids barely listen to what you say, but like they 100% model what you do. And I realized that, and I was like, if I'm going to be telling my kids this, like I have to live it. And that's how my wife and I do everything. That's why I'm the way I'm with my fitness. That's the way I'm with like my business and stuff, because I know that they're absorbing all this stuff from me. And I think as being a father, being the man of a house, the man of the house before God and all that, I think I have to be that role model for them if I want them to be on the right path. So that was a huge driver for me. And then the other side was just the financial freedom piece. And I use that term a lot, and I don't love to, because I do have that freedom, right? Like I could stop right now and live the same quality of life that I've had before. But I'd be lying if I said that like I work less than I did in corporate. But what I will tell you is like I love it way more. And I'm not someone that goes into a Monday sad. Like I go in ready to roll. Like after New Year's, I didn't stay up anyway, but I was ready to get after it because we have some big goals to accomplish in 2024. And yeah, so it's just like being proud, financial freedom, and my kids, man. Those are my main three.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, I think one of the biggest things with entrepreneurship, I think that frankly, I didn't appreciate or understand before getting into it. And I think most people don't is really the almost unlimited potential that you have to create your financial future. I was thinking about this recently. If working a corporate job or whatever, let's say you want to make an additional 50 grand a year. That's going to take you, that might take you a decade or more.
Yeah. It take you a lifetime, depending on what you do, 100%.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. Versus if I wanted to do that this year, I can easily figure out a way to do it and make it happen.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
you can have that faith in yourself, your ability, and the drive and hustle to go out and get it. And I think that's what separates a lot of people. I think there are so many people out there that say they want stuff, but they actually don't want it because their actions don't reflect that. But for the folks that actually do want to create whatever they like, and I'm just a huge proponent of create the life that you want. Like the life that I live now is very different than what I grew up in, but that was by design. And that's, I think anyone can do that, but you have to have that real determination and drive and the willingness to actually get uncomfortable and get out there and do it. Right. But like you said, man, like there's no cap on your earning potential as an entrepreneur. 100% is if you are in a corporate role, and if you think you're safe, wait till the next pandemic, the next crisis comes around and stuff. And one income, stream of income is not going to cut it, man. We live in a bold new world now.
Yeah, no, that's very true words. Just to wrap things up then, we like to ask our guests to leave our audience with 3 actionable or practical tips based on the topics that we discussed. So what are some things that you could leave them with?
Man, hate giving advice, bro. Which is crazy because I actually have a coaching business and stuff, but it's I call that more guidance. Yeah, man, I'm just being like, live the way you want to live. If there's something that you want to do out there, go after it. It sounds super cliche, but we truly do only have one life. It is short. Like it's, I see so many people that are miserable every day and complain about their circumstances when we live in a country that has so much opportunity that people just are completely unaware of. And I think I just had that perspective of just living overseas in England, Japan, I've lived in first world countries, I've visited third world countries, and there's nothing like America. And if you want something, like make goals, write it down, pray on it, and put the work in. And I promise you, you will accomplish it. It may take time. It may take a year, it may take 10 years, but you keep pushing, like you will get there. And I just wish more people believed enough in themselves to realize like it's a truth.
Words of wisdom right there. Excellent. So if people want to check out either your syndications or your funds or your coaching programs, where can they find you? What's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, I would say the best way is probably Instagram. I'm all in on social media now, so I'm trying to whittle everybody there. It's right, but I'm on everything: LinkedIn, Facebook, even TikTok, my guy. But yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Justin T. Mosley _ LCM. And yeah, I have my STR Millionaires website linked there, my Lessmore Capital, which you can Google Lessmore Capital or lmcstr.com. Try to make it easier, but still doesn't really flow very well. But yeah, Instagram's probably the best way to reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate all the advice, all the wisdom, and I'm sure our listeners are going to be checking you out. And just want to say, see you guys next week on another episode of The Fit Investor. Thank you, Justin.